BBC Sussex and BBC Surrey with Danny Pike, 8 minutes past 11. And so legendary Queen guitarist Brian May, who lives in Surrey, and singing sensation Kerry Ellis are going to perform together once again in a brand new show. This February, the Candlelight Concert will see Brian and Kerry perform stripped-down versions of Queen classics alongside a number of their personal favourite songs. And they're coming to the Congress Theatre in Eastbourne on February 25th. So I spoke to Brian May and Kerry Ellis and asked how this collaboration started.
It goes back a long way to the very beginning of We Will Rock You, and Kerry created the role of Meat in We Will Rock You and was there for 2 years. And during that time we started recording sort of tentatively to see what we could do. And it just went from there. We've both been ridiculously busy along the way, of course, but we just grabbed odd bits of studio time, and eventually we got out on tour doing the Anthems tour, which was 2010,
I think.
Bloody hell!
Right.
And
so not as long ago as you thought, actually.
Not that long ago, yeah. And we've done a lot of shows together, and travelled the world a bit, actually, must I say. You know,
Yeah.
We did South African things, we did stuff with Born Free, and it's continued, and we like doing it, so we're doing a few more concerts. These are the intimate concerts. These are the ones where we're very close to the audience and we tell stories and we sing songs, and it's very kind of stripped down, which we enjoy.
And which really kind of exposes your qualities to people. Your guitar playing, Brian, Kerry, your voice.
Exactly.
It does expose you.
It's very uncluttered. It's very simple, and the songs are incredibly dramatic when we do them this way, and we love it. We make a bit of noise at the end of the show, but a lot of it's acoustic and very very moving, I think.
We'll play an example of your work together in a couple of moments. But Kerry, I suppose, coming to this and working with Brian, I don't know, were you uninhibited by not really kind of having... I don't know, I mean, Queen started, you know, in the mid-70s, and for a lot of us, we grew up with their music, and it's always been part of our lives. You being a bit younger than the rest of us, I don't know whether...
I'm not that much younger than the rest of you.
Enough.
I mean, you're probably asking if I was daunted to work with Brian, but...
In a roundabout way.
I wasn't really daunted as such. I was more excited about it, and I think going in for We Will Rock You, it was something... you know, I've done theatre my whole life, so I was very confident in that, and getting to sing in front of them was more of a privilege than fearful. And going on, you know, we've been working together 12 years on and off now, so now it's just, you know, it's just a pleasure and a joy. We know each other very well in the way that we perform, and it's just fun. We have great fun, and it's something special, I think.
Well, I'm trying to dissect that chemistry, though, because, I mean, you as a performer, could have been in the show, you know, got the audition, done the show, gone off to do something else, and the two of your paths may never have crossed again. So what was it about Kerry's voice, or the way she sings, or what is it, Brian, that meant the two of you decided to work more together?
Well, it's me, really. I think, you know, I was always looking for that voice. I mean, I worked with Freddie all those years, you know, and to me, music is all about songs and singers. And, you know, the guitar playing is great, which I love it, you know, as you know. But to me... that's what it's about, you know, what affects people is a song and a singer and the way it's put across, the production, the arrangement, or whatever. So I needed someone. I can't do that on my own. Actually, I did try for a while. I went out and sang for 2 whole tours, you know, but I actually prefer to work with a singer, and that's when the magic happens. And I just heard in Kerry a voice which is completely magical, and she has a way of interpreting which is all her own. So to me, to bounce off that is incredibly rewarding.
Is that perhaps the unique thing about the voice? It's something you either got or you haven't, because, I mean, most people can pick up the guitar. I can play a few chords terribly badly, but, I mean, if you pluck if you pluck the right strings at the right time, you can get a tune out of it. But that's not necessarily the case with the voice. You can get maybe you can sing a tune, but it might be really harsh on the ears and horrible, and nobody would pay to listen to it.
Everybody has their talent, and that's why Brian is who he is, and it's why, you know, I sing. And what's interesting about the show that we do together is that it is very stripped back. It is very exposing, but we both, you know, we're doing what we love doing, and it's the essence of what we do. Brian plays and I sing, and it's something just special. Okay,
let's hear you two in action. We're going to play Dust in the Wind, a song I'm not familiar with. You introduce it on the clip, Brian, but tell us a little bit more about it before we play the thing.
It's close to my heart because we toured with this wonderful band called Kansas for a couple of years in the States. They would open up for us. Wonderful songwriters and performers. And Kerry Livgren, the guitarist from the band, wrote this song, Dust in the Wind. It was a massive hit in the States, probably not so much here, but I've always loved the song. And it's one of those things where we're just playing around in the studio back home, and I played it to Kerry, and she instantly identified. And I mean, Kerry to me is a phenomenon, and she brings something to it. So it sends chills up my spine as soon as I heard her sing it. So this is what we do. This song was written by an old friend of mine in the old days of Queen touring, years and years and years and years ago. We used to tour about 9 months of the year, and most of it in America. And we had a band with us called Kansas. Fantastic guys from Kansas, of course. And they did a lot of very up-tempo stuff, but they did also beautiful ballads, and this is one of them. It's called Dust in the Wind.
Dust in the Wind, Brian May and Kerry Ellis on BBC Sussex and BBC Surrey. So that's the kind of tone of the evening, the Candlelight Concerts, is it?
It's one flavour of the evening.
Yeah.
It is. We do obviously more stuff like that, and then Brian obviously goes electric at the end, and we get a bit raucous, and there's lots of audience participation, and it's a real rounded night out, I think.
Lovely. What you said right at the start of that recording that we played was you toured for 9 months with that band Kansas in the States, Brian. I don't know whether touring is glamorous or it's hard work. What was it like back then when Queen were, this massive global band being out on the road? Was it something you enjoyed or not?
Yeah, you have to enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it, you would die, know, because, we did tour 9 months of the year for many, many years, so unless you get used to it, you're dead. But yes, it's great. It's an amazing mixture, and we're getting into a little bit of touring now, again, and it's hard. You have to be really disciplined. You have to know when to work and when to play. But it's massively rewarding, and it's a kind of simple life in a sense, because, my life's very complicated most of the time, and I think most of us have that thing, we're trying to do a million things at once. On tour, you have one thing to do, and you do it properly, and you're focused, and it's a nice feeling, if you get it right, and you get a response from the audience, which is great, so you get kind of approbation, if you like.
Yeah.
And it's a good feeling, and it's almost like being an army as well, because you're out there kind of conquering the world in a sense, and that's a good feeling in a nice way.
And there's more than just a four-piece band, of course, on the tour for you if you were touring as Queen. But did Freddie recognise that business about when to work and when to play?
Oh, absolutely. Freddie was the master of it. Yeah, he really was. Everybody thinks Freddie was, I don't know if anyone thinks he was undisciplined, but nothing could be further from the truth. No, he was very good. And normally after a gig he wouldn't speak. If there was any doubt about what state his voice was in, he wouldn't drink, he wouldn't smoke, he wouldn't speak, and he would make sure he was ready for the next gig. If there wasn't a gig coming up and he was fine, he would do whatever he wanted to do, which was many things. He had a lot of fun out there, and we all did. But we knew you have to take it very seriously. You're going all around the world. You get one night in somebody's town, and you have to perform. You don't have to make excuses for it afterwards. So
can I give you a case in point on that one? Because everybody remembers the impact that Queen made at Live Aid in that year, in '84. But the one for me was, I guess it was a year or 2 years later, back at Wembley Stadium with the kind of Magic Tour, with the big inflatable cartoon characters that are featured on the album. I was there on the pitch.
You were there? Wow.
I was there on the pitch at Wembley watching you, and it was
great.
Just thinking about it now, I tell you what it was. The set was amazing. You played all the hits, and Freddie was at the peak of his powers. The band sounded amazing. It was really, really good. And then those big inflatable characters came out, and then they just drifted off out the hole in the top of Wembley Stadium and drifted off into Wembley night.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's such a great memory just thinking about it now.
It was a great night. It was, it was good. And we were at the peak of our powers. I see it now. I think, wow, my God, yeah. We could you can see the chemistry between us. We could do anything, and we went off into sort of little improvising bits, and there was never any break in that link between us. Yeah, it was good times.
I'll honestly say I was very proud to have been there. I was very lucky to have been there on that night,
That's
I think.
great.
So thank you for that memory.
Brilliant. Oh, that's very good to hear. Very, very good.
My guests, Brian May and Kerry Ellis. More in a moment. Bit of stargazing with Patrick Moore and some new, old Queen songs. Tell you more after Hammer to Fall. Love this tune from Queen.
Here we stand, and here we fall. History won't care at all. Give it to me one more time.
Song written by Brian May for Queen. That is Hammer to Fall on BBC Sussex and BBC Surrey. I've been talking to Brian May and Kerry Ellis, who are coming to the Congress in Eastbourne on the 25th of February for the Candlelight Concert. As you know, Brian May, a keen astronomer, and became close friends with Patrick Moore. Here's what Brian said to me about him.
Well, he was a wonderful man, really, I would say. You know, he's very unusual, utterly dedicated to his craft, you know, his science, and incredibly generous to anyone who was coming up. You know, he really helped so many kids coming up. Anyone who wrote to him and asked for help got help, and he would help them with his time, his money. He would help them through university and stuff. It's quite incredible what he contributed to the life of astronomers. And of course, he's the reason that we all got inspired. He was on TV when we were kids, showing us what the universe is like. I mean, to me it was incredibly exciting, and still is. And yeah, we clicked, we did, and you know, it was a great friendship that I'm very proud of. He was kind of, I suppose, he's like an uncle to me in a sense, you know.
Yeah.
And we all felt that way about him, and we all clustered around and looked after him when he got sick at the end. And we were able to keep him in his house until the very end. Very productive. He wrote 3 or 4 books in the last couple of years of his life. And that's what he loved. He loved to be busy, same as I do, same as Kerry does.
Yeah.
You know, we love to do what we do. And
yeah, it was because when I was there, we were talking about the sort of the children's stories he'd written, but also at the same time he was finishing off a great big sort of weighty work with lots of facts and numbers in about
the yearbook. Yeah. A massive undertaking. Yeah,
incredible. And although his body was pretty decrepit, wasn't it? I mean, his mind was still so sharp and really current as well. He wasn't talking about things, you know, from 20, 30, 40 years ago.
That's right. Oh, sometimes he did. If he had a few drinks late at night, he would. No, he was very current, yeah. And he was a great animal person as well. He was very anti-fox hunting, you know, and very concerned about animals, which is very... I guess that's another reason why we clicked.
Yeah, that's... oh, you must love that story then from Winter Watch. They tracked a fox that started off its journey in Hove, and they tracked it all the way through mid-Sussex up into the South Downs National Park, and it eventually ended up on the other side of Rye. 140 miles they clocked it in at.
I didn't know that.
This little fox went for walkabout on Winter Watch. Yeah, 140 miles. It's a record breaker.
Good Lord.
Longest one they tracked. Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's not a bad journey, because you think they just loiter around bins in town these days, don't they?
Well... They don't really, you know, there's so much kind of negative propaganda put out about foxes, which really, you know, upsets us all, you know, because they're beautiful creatures. I mean, I love the foxes, and we have a rescue centre, I don't know if you know, in Surrey, the Harper Asbury Wildlife Rescue, and it's all linked in with Save Me, which is our campaign for wild animals. You know, people are getting used to the idea that African wild animals are very important and worth saving and worth treasuring. We need to get used to the idea that we have wild animals too in Britain, and they are precious, and they are wonderful, sentient creatures and worthy of respect.
Does the control issue carry any weight with you in terms of foxes or badgers?
No, it's absolute rubbish. No, there is no issue of control of foxes. You know, and it's well known now that the foxes actually are bred by the hunts because the hunts want to have something to pursue and torture. A few years ago, there were no foxes left in the Isle of Wight, and they imported some more so that they could keep hunting them. So no, the control thing is a complete is a lie. You know, the foxes are fine, and they'll take care of themselves. You know, they take care of themselves a lot better than humans do in terms of population, in fact. Most of the problems we have in Britain are due to the population explosion of humans.
So I didn't know you had the rescue centre in Surrey, actually, so that's something else I've learned today. That's also where you record your music, isn't it, Brian?
Yep, that's right.
You've got some recorded material that you're putting down at the moment. What are you working on in terms of music to release?
Well, Kerry and I are always working in odd moments. We have a few tracks which will be ready for the next album when that comes up, hopefully. At the moment, I have Queen on the boards, and Roger was down there just last night, and we're looking at some tracks which we found miraculously. We thought there were none left, but we have a track which we were working on last night. In fact, three.
No. It's gradually coming out. Really? So when were these recorded?
The track I was working on last night was about 1983. It is incredible, and it sounds just as if it was recorded yesterday. Freddie's there as large as life, having a lot of fun, being very cheeky, and we're all playing as a band, the four of us. It's wonderful, and obviously it wasn't finished, so you have to work a bit of magic on it, but you can do that these days, and we're quite used to working with Pro Tools and weaving spells around what fragments we can find. Now, this is a big fragment, this is a big archaeological find, so we're having a lot of fun with it.
So this would have been an old sort of one of those thick, I don't know, were they 24-track tapes or something, one of those, is it?
That's right, it was a 24-track, yeah.
And where was it found? So I don't know how much you want to say about it now, in case it all of a sudden...
in a dusty attic somewhere, I think.
Right.
No, it's just was there, and we all forgot, I guess, and suddenly it's there, and it's lovely. It's a song which I wrote, and...
What's it called?
I see. You have to wait for that one.
It's good, though.
You can't help. I can't help but being intrigued by it. So I've got to ask these things, and I can understand you're not wanting to give us everything right now. But
the great thing is, it's not been leaked. Everything these days is leaked on the blooming internet, and this hasn't. It's there, and nobody has heard this, so it really excites me, and we can work on it nice and peacefully and carefully, and then when we're ready, we'll put it out, and I think people are going to love hearing this stuff.
Wow! So if that was 83, that would have been around the time there was so much other sort of music around. That was Thriller was out, Paul Young was around. Which Queen album was out around that time?
No, you see, you're fishing too much here.
Okay, no, I'm just trying to place it in my mind. What else it would have been around? So how it might sound.
We were making, I think, what became the Works album. Is that right? I think we were in Los Angeles.
Because that was Hammer to Fall and I Want to Break Free and all of that, which came out in 84.
Cool, you know your stuff, don't you? I'm on dangerous territory.
I'm looking for you to correct me on all this stuff.
No,
okay,
I think
so
you're right.
It was around that time. So that kind of sound we're talking about.
Yeah.
From where you were then. Well, okay, we'll leave us at that and say I can't wait to hear that.
Great.
Before then, finally, Kerry, other than working with Brian, what are you doing? Are you in the West End at the minute? Is there a show coming up for you?
I'm touring at the moment with a Rent concert version for the next 2.5 weeks, and then Brian and I obviously tour, and then just loads of concerts throughout the year, so it's busy.
Well, listen, I've taken up tons of your time, so I really appreciate that, and I can't wait to come and see you. February 25th, Congress in Eastbourne. Brian May, Kerry Ellis, thank you very much.
Thank
Brilliant.
you.
Thanks a lot.
There you go. Brian May and Kerry Ellis speaking to us earlier. The Candlelight Concerts coming to the Congress Theatre in Eastbourne on February 25th. Details at eastbournetheatres.co.uk or the box office Eastbourne 41 2000. Eastbourne 41 2000 for a night of great music with Brian and Kerry. I mean, that stuff at the end there about some tapes they've discovered with the band playing, Freddie singing on them, and Brian and Roger working on them at the moment. Cannot wait to hear those. 11:33.